I thought we'd kick off with Graham, and I'm going to unleash my trained attack deputy.
Okay.
Rar. All right. No, but Intel's obviously the brain of most computers. Most of you would know what a processor is. I don't need to explain it. But most of you also know that the Core i7 is obviously the highest end model. Currently, that is, because Sandybridge is coming, isn't it, Graham?
Yes, and we recently had the Intel Developer Forum in San Francisco where we disclosed a little detail of Sandybridge. And yeah, Core i7 is our premium brand today and will be our premium brand next year as well. So, you know, this is something different to what we've done in the past in the sense that we've had a different brand for every generation of architecture, but we're maintaining the same 3, 5, and 7, so there won't be an i9 or an i2 or 3.5 or whatever.
So you're not worried that consumers will get confused with the same Core i7, which one's the generation? You know, which one's Nehalem, which one's Sandybridge?
Yeah, I'm not a marketing person, but apparently our branding people are looking at that very issue. Right. But, you know, the automotive industry's been doing this for a while where they have, assume that...
The same Mazda 6 5 times over.
Yeah, the 2011 model's going to be a lot better. And, you know, I don't know whether you've heard of TikTok, but that's...
Do you guys know the whole TikTok thing that Intel do? Yep. Yes. One of you does?
Cool. Well, basically TikTok, 1 year they shrink the process size, the other year they give us a new architecture. And this is a new architecture.
Seems to be working pretty well so far.
Absolutely, and I think we're making good transistors for the last 40 years, but I think what we saw with the Pentium 4 is that we didn't change the design frequently at all. And we just tweaked it up and the thing got hot.
Tried to push the clock speed. I mean, we heard rumors of 10 gigahertz that we still haven't hit.
Yeah. I think that was an atomic cover.
Yeah. You know, Intel's next 10 gig chip in 5 years or something.
Yeah, so in fairness, to Intel at that stage was, we all bought computers around megahertz and performance per watt didn't really matter. And for most of you here, you're just interested in raw performance, but you also want to keep the thing relatively cool. And being thermally good means you can overclock it further as well. So yeah, performance per watt is the metric we're shooting for now. And I think what we showed with the Core microarchitecture or the Core 2 Duo is that by changing the design radically, we could make leaps and bounds. And we saw it again with Nehalem a couple of years ago. And we're about to launch another architecture, Sandybridge, next year, which you should see the same sort of leapfrog.
It's funny that he brought that up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you say power per watt, performance per watt, I should say. What has been done with Sandybridge to actually give us extra power per watt? I mean, because you've only got so much silicon you can play around with. Yeah,
so there's several, and look, everyone looks at our new releases of processors and then there's a growing number of transistors and people think, well, adding more transistors is going to consume more power. And that's not true because you can put systems in place on the actual architecture which turns stuff off that's not in use and bring it back very, very, very quickly. And people think, well, okay, well, that's going to slow it down. And it doesn't at all. I mean, people are used to either hibernation or S3 states on their computers, and that's really slow, right? Even coming out of S3 state or the suspended RAM takes 5 or 6 seconds. And, we're talking nanoseconds getting the cache back in action after it's been flushed and turned off.
So what kind of special function architectural changes have been made in Sandybridge? I mean, you say you can turn the circuits on and off.
Yes.
Which circuits have been put in place?
On the cache and on the execution units, there's been design around that.
So you've got video acceleration?
Yes, so we are introducing a new visual experience, what we're calling a new visual experience, so a new GPU on the processor. So this is our first monolithic die of 4 cores and graphics on the same die.
So that's not really like AMD's Fusion, is it?
No, well, Fusion is their own gig, whatever they're doing. But, we're going down our road. We've got our own design criteria. But I think what we saw, we're definitely not trying to compete in the high-end graphics market. So if you're into 3D gaming, the built-in...
You guys don't care about games, do you, really? It's not really a thing, no?
Yeah, that's what this audience does. And we like that, because if you look at the statistics, everyone that looks at high-performance graphics also wants to complement it with a good processor.
So in knowing that overclocking is a big part of enthusiast use of your products, can you tell us anything about this walled garden strategy? Where, I mean, there's been rumors around online that overclocking is going to be incredibly limited with these new Sandybridge chips, that maybe if you're lucky, if you happen to buy the high-end model, expensive one, you might be able to change the multiplier.
So what you've seen in 2010 is Intel actually having the most liberal overclocking philosophy really we've had since the year dot. With the K SKUs and what have you, we've offered processors which you can overclock in the mainstream. So traditionally in the past, it's only been the very high end that we've allowed to overclock.
And is that going to continue?
We plan to continue that same strategy into 2011, but I can't really give you too much details about the actual SKUs which are going to be released. That's all pre-release stuff.
And don't you guys be so quiet over there. If you want to butt in or tell him he's talking crap or something,
Yeah, yeah.
get in there and rip him something.
You're talking crap.
Oh, great.
Give the man an inch, he'll take a mile.